Hey everybody, what's up? Hope you are having a great day. What day is it? Wednesday, May 7th, and we are on day 3 of the long-awaited Diddy trial. And we have some big news regarding jury selection and some other stuff that we're going to talk to you guys about. Now, here's the thing. I was trying to post this on Insta as well, but it didn't quite go through. So I don't have our Insta friends here today, but I do have our TikTok friends here as we always do. So if you are on TikTok, please make sure to hit that follow button, tap that screen. Let's see if we get that number up to 10,000 here on likes. If you are on TikTok and want to see the photos and things that we are going to be showing today on YouTube, then you can jump over. It is the same name, Just in the Nick of Crime. You can also get to it by going to the link in my bio. We have a pretty wild show today because there's some stuff that came out regarding outside of the jury selection stuff that you guys definitely want to know about going in. And I think that what we're looking at here is kind of a precursor to the way that this whole trial is going to go and how just insane it's going to get. Now, as always, you guys know that I have to do my housekeeping items. So do me a favor here. So you guys, TikTok, I'm going to show you guys on TikTok and YouTube. I wrote this book. I actually wrote 3 books, but I only have this one left available. Please buy it. They are buy the damn book. I want to get rid of this so I can order the rest of them. They are the cheapest they will ever be. I think like hardcovers are like $12 or $13 or something like that. And the soft covers are 10. You can get them in TikTok shop or through my website, Just the Nick of Crime. But know that boundaries and hard and soft cover are the only ones available. The other things that I want to let you know is please give me a follow on Substack if you don't already. And here's why I'm going to encourage you to do this, at least during the Diddy trial. First of all, it's free to subscribe to Substack. If you don't know what it is, it's basically a platform that is article based. So can I upload videos, and do I upload videos? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, I'll do these recaps on Diddy's trial. And if you don't want to watch a 30-minute video, however long it is, you can go through and read these articles in a recap. They are free. I will never charge for that kind of stuff. The only people who pay to subscribe are people who want to support the content, which you do not have to do, although I would not stop you if that's something you chose to do. Lastly, because I keep talking about this and I'm so excited about this podcast and the things that we have coming up for it, I won't go into the big details, but please follow Real Victims anywhere podcast stream or youtube.com/@realvictims, REEL. And you should be able to get to the links to that in the show notes of this right here. Now, with that being said, let's get back to the Diddy saga, right, of what's going on today. And I'm going to start this off a little bit differently because I want to talk about the jury selection, but there's actually a story that I kind of want to talk to you guys about first. And I made a video about this, and people who lack critical thinking skills aren't happy with the way that I made this. And maybe the title was a little clickbaity, but I don't really agree with that. That's my personal opinion, which is a Trump resort connection, Donald Trump resort connection with this Diddy situation. And before anybody jumps to conclusions, let me explain what I mean. So let me take you back. Well, before I say that, let me read this disclaimer that I typed out, okay? For this next part, and I will tell you when this part changes to what we know is fact, or what we're starting to know is fact. So what I'm about to share with you is a theory, okay? This is for the background of what we're going to talk about. Please note that this theory is not based on publicly verified facts. It's speculative with a lot of pieces loosely connected to by people online. But the timing, location, and lack of mainstream coverage around this particular individual's motives have made it a reoccurring reference point in Diddy-related conspiracy posts. That being said, I'm going to tell you the core claim. All right. In 2018, a man by the name of Jonathan Audi, Oddi, a fitness model, adult film actor and stripper, and a quote unquote small-time entrepreneur, stormed Trump's Doral Resort in Florida with a firearm. He fired shots and was taken down by the police. The shooting was weird. It got very little media attention, and Audi's motives were never clearly explained. So this is where the conspiracy begins to take shape. Okay. So allegedly, Diddy used Trump's Doral property for some of his freak-offs. That's what's being alleged in this conspiracy theory. And so social media sleuths, not me, because I don't sleuth, I just report, and bloggers suggest that Diddy may have frequented or even used Trump's Doral as one of the locations for his alleged freak-offs. While this has not been confirmed in court, the theory suggests that Doral might have been more than just a hotel for him, possibly a controlled environment or even a blackmail site. This is what the conspiracy people think. Now, here's regard to his targeting of the Trump Doral Resort, Doral Trump Resort, whatever. Jonathan Audi's actions back in 2018 are being painted by conspiracy theorists as a, quote, intentional disruption or cover-up attempt that he may have been sent to destroy evidence or to cause a distraction. And somebody said, what if Audi wasn't some lone nut, but he was trying to get to something or someone tied with what Diddy was doing at the Doral? And here's where the timing and aftermath come in. The theory claims that his shooting wasn't just random, but in fact was either a warning shot to those involved in elite trafficking circles or a cleanup mission for deeper operations involving celebrities, political figures, or blackmail setups. Now, why are we talking about it today? Why? Because you guys know I don't talk about conspiracy theorists unless it's a fun conspiracy theorist like theory, like Tupac's still alive, which I don't believe, but it's a fun conspiracy theory, or we never landed on the moon. That doesn't hurt anybody, right? So those are fun conspiracy theories. We're talking about pretty serious one with this kind of stuff. And so that's not something I normally talk about, but here's why we're talking about it, okay? Because now that Diddy has a trial starting, he's been under federal investigation. Everything he's ever touched is being re-examined, including past haunts, properties, and connections. And when people realized that Diddy had stayed at the Doral and a man with no clear motive shot at that exact property in 2018, the rabbit holes kind of exploded. So conspiracy circles are basically trying to are tying it to trafficking networks, intelligence ops, and Epstein-style setups involving blackmail influence. Okay, so all of that being said, we're going to stop there for a moment. That is the conspiracy theory. Okay, now let me show you Jonathan Audi. And guys, women, I picked this photo on purpose because I know that the majority of my followers are women, and this is 100% a thirst trap. That's what it is. By the way, if you are watching on TikTok, you cannot see the thirst trap I'm showing people on YouTube for this guy. All right. The stripper, adult film actor, fitness trainer guy right here. All right. So this is what he looks like. This is who he is. All right. So here's why we're talking about it. Okay. At the time back in, so this part is where we're talking about the articles. This is the stuff that we're talking about in today. We are past the conspiracy theory point, and we're going to talk about what we know is fact. Okay. Because there's evidence and receipts to back it up. To most of it, at least a lot of it. So in 2018, this guy, Jonathan Audi, was instantly written off as a complete lunatic. His claims were wild and outlandish and outrageous. He claimed that he was Diddy's slave and that Diddy forced him to perform acts on Cassie while Diddy watched and self-gratified, is how we're going to word that. He told police that he was a pawn in their twisted world, and everyone laughed it off and moved on, and it sounded completely unhinged. But now, this was back in 2018, long before Diddy was arrested. But now, knowing what we know now, those claims are starting to look a lot more real, aren't they? You know what's funny? I said that I got this thirst trap of this guy on YouTube, and I watched those numbers just climb. It's kind of funny. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I mean, he's a good-looking guy, you know, good-looking guy. So it has been confirmed that Jonathan Audi and Diddy both signed an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, back in 2014, 11 years ago, 4 years before the Trump hotel shooting, and a full decade before Diddy was hit with federal trafficking charges. Okay. According to Audi, he also claims he was paid $5 million to stay quiet. And here's the kicker. Court records show that he bought 5 properties, all in cash, immediately after that NDA was signed. And that's not speculation, y'all. That's documented. Now, let me guys show you. You see, it jumped even more. I'll come back to your thirst trap in a second. That was him after he got in with the police. This is the NDA. You know what? Let me make it bigger for y'all. That's the NDA. You can see it signed by Sean Diddy Combs toward the bottom and at the top. This is a real, legit thing signed in 2014. This is what he signed. All right. This is what he signed. Okay. Interesting, right? I think so. I think so. Anyways, because I know y'all want to look at the other guy here. I'll just do this for you guys. Oh, man. Where'd it go? Boop. There you go. You guys can keep looking at it. If you're on TikTok, you can't see the thirst trap I'm hitting people with right now. But you can see it. But I can go back and show the NDA in a minute as well. But interesting, right? That part's interesting. So let's continue with this, okay? That NDA was signed. He was allegedly paid $5 million, and without a job, without a reason, without explanation, he paid for 5 properties in cash. Okay? Like he full out paid for 100%. Weird, right? So then his ex-wife says that that's when their marriage began to fall apart. It was during that time. She said she didn't know where the money came from. but she remembers him suddenly pushing for a divorce very quickly right after the deal with Diddy. She believes that he wanted her out of the picture before the money came in, and whatever happened between him and Diddy drove him to basically a mental breakdown. Now, that's speculation on the ex-wife's part, but she says that he went from being a dancer to getting deep, from being just a dancer, stripper, whatever else he was doing, to getting very deep into to Miami's underground and party scene. Bearing in mind, Diddy has a massive mansion in Miami, okay? And somehow when he got into this underground party and sex scene in Miami, he got involved with Diddy and Cassie, and she believes that the shooting at Trump's hotel wasn't a random outburst. She thinks it was the result of years of trauma and silence and possibly even an attempt to expose the truth. Now, let's take it a step further, guys. Let's take it a step further. This is where things get a little darker. Now, Cassie filed her lawsuit last year in 2024. All right. 8 years after this whole thing happened with Jonathan. All right. Bear that in mind. And in her filing, she described almost the exact same behavior that Jonathan Audi talked about 8 years prior when he did that shooting. That Diddy would for 5 years. 2018, how many years ago was that? That's, yeah, right? No, I don't know. 7 years, 6 years, 7 years. Doesn't matter. Math. Can't do it. Okay. But anyways, it described the exact same behavior, that Diddy would force her to sleep with male workers while he watched and recorded. He said that there was abuse, control, humiliation. The parallels are pretty much identical to one another. So the question now becomes, was Jonathan Audi really insane, or was he telling the truth before anybody else was willing to hear it or believe it? Because when you lay it out, the NDA, the sudden cash, the mental unraveling, the shooting, and now the federal charges against Diddy, and adding Cassie's lawsuit, which has the same verbiage of what this guy was talking about, it stops sounding so much like a conspiracy theory and starts looking like a cover-up that just didn't kind of hold. Now, this is one that is continuing to unfold, and the more that comes out, or the more that it looks like Audi might have been the first person to blow the whistle, or that's what it is looking like, but nobody took him seriously. But I will be covering this, and as we get more information about this, should more information comes up, we'll definitely be talking about this. But this was a very interesting thing. All right. And real quick, I know you guys like seeing this guy. We're taking him down in a minute. That's the NDA again. And this NDA will be on the Substack. I will put it into the Substack article I'm going to send out shortly after we finish this broadcast. So you guys can take a look at it there and see it in your own two eyes in full picture. But so yeah, go follow on Substack. Now, let's talk about what happened today. All right. So day three of jury selection, day 3 of this whole circus that's going to be starting. Okay. So initially yesterday when I did this, or the day before, we were told that there were about 150 people in the pool of jurors. Apparently that number was more like 600, at least what was being reported today. Now, over the last 3 days, they whittled that number down more and more, because the goal is to get to 45 potential jurors. And then the goal after that 45 is to get it down to 12 jurors and 6 alternates, a total of 18 people. As of now, they have reached that 45. 45 jurors have been approved to move forward, which means we could and should have a full jury seated by Friday. That is the target. Friday. Now, from this group of 45, like I said, 12 jurors and 6 alternates are going to be selected. And by Tuesday evening, just so you guys know, for a little bit of like optics or logistics, they had 35 people in the pool. And then Wednesday added a few additions, a few removals. And by the end of the day, they got to that magic 45, right? Now, let's talk about this. I got to look at my notes for this, so I'm going to look up past the camera for a moment. Jurors are being vetted through detailed questioning, including their experiences with domestic violence, SA, and opinions of law enforcement. They're also being asked if they've seen the hotel video hallway of Diddy and Cassie, and whether or not it affects their ability to remain impartial. And anyone saying that they can't put it aside, gone, dismissed. Okay. Now the poll has hit 45. They're going to begin peremptory strikes, which basically means removing jurors without giving a reason. That phase was expected to happen today, but prosecutors asked to delay it until Friday, asked them to delay it until Friday to give jurors time to consider their availability, their opinions, and their responsibility. And the judge ultimately agreed. The judge actually was pushing for it today. Now, let's talk about I'm going to talk about the jury, and then we got a few other fun little tidbits to kind of share with you guys. So let's talk about the jury controversies today. So there were like why some people were cut, why people stayed, because those are always kind of fun to hear the reasons, right? And it's not everybody, just a few of them. There was who's being called the HBO juror. So she was cut because her company, the company that she works for, that aired the fall of Diddy. I cannot talk today. The company she works for is the one who aired the fall of Diddy documentary. And even though she didn't work on the films, both sides, prosecution and defense, eventually agreed that she had to go. There's also a woman from Her Justice. Her Justice is a legal nonprofit. She didn't disclose prior work with the Legal Aid Society. The defense flagged her. The judge held back on a ruling, likely a peremptory strike on Friday. So that's one of the controversies. There was a male juror who was excused after admitting he wasn't sure he could comfortably discuss sexual topics with the group, which is a major issue in a case involving trafficking allegations. There was another situation where a potential juror walked in, and he knew the judge. He knew the judge. He had high-level clients, is testifying before Congress, and the cult ultimately excluded him due to concerns about his potential influence on others. There was another person who walked in, and actually this guy erupted. This was also erupted in laughter. He revealed that he worked at the Brooklyn MDC, where Diddy is being held. So obviously gone out. Multiple others were excused for things like expressing strong opinions based on tweets, having negative views of police due to job experience, or struggling with impartiality after watching the hotel video. So who didn't get cut today? Who still stays? One of them I find kind of funny, but yeah, the jury pool is very diverse. You've got teachers, nurses, finance professionals, maintenance workers, Trekkies, and Star Wars fans. I swear to God, that's what it says. Gamers and drone hobbyists. And they get their news from everywhere. NYT, Fox, Al Jazeera. They stream shows from Chicago PD to Andor. One of them actually said that he's been binge watching Andor nonstop, Star Wars guy. And so he's going to be possibly on the thing. And then one woman, social media is basically she's a social media creator, and her content's mostly dogs and food. So it's a real interesting, diverse group of people. But let's now that we talked about the jury and stuff, let's get into the fun goings-ons that happened today. Okay. Let's talk about the fun going on today. Mark Geragos, my favorite of the attorneys involved in this. I find Mark Geragos to be very, very fascinating. He got yelled at today. Again, he got yelled at, I think, yesterday too. He got yelled at today for a couple things. Well, really one main thing. So for people who don't know, I've talked about this, but just to make it clear, Mark Geragos, at least at this moment in time, isn't officially on Diddy's team. He is unofficially on the team. He advises strategic advisement, offers his expertise to help Diddy's team. And part of the reason for that is his daughter Tinny is officially on Diddy's team. Well, Mark Geragos also has a podcast called Two Angry Men. And apparently the judge had heard some of the comments he made, because one of the comments that he made was about the prosecution. And he referred to I'm going to quote this. Okay. He referred to the all-female, all-white prosecution team as a, quote, six-pack of white women. So the judge got unhappy with that. He called the remarks outrageous and completely unacceptable from an officer of the court. The judge also said that Geragos got one new subscriber to his podcast, and the reason for that was so that the judge could keep an eye on what Geragos was doing and Geragos was saying, to which Mark basically quipped back. He said he was fine for the judge listening to him as long as he was a subscriber. So that kind of diffused that situation. Now, and for those who don't know, the prosecution is exactly what he said. It's six white women. That's what it is. Was the comment inappropriate? Yeah, I mean, probably. But that's just so you guys know, because we talk more about his lawyers and the prosecution, and the prosecution is pretty badass on their own. Now, at the same time, Diddy's team has argued that he is being unfairly treated because of his race, because he's a black man. And they've said, even Diddy has said that. And they've said that, but they did say that that's not going to be part of their defense strategy in court. But because of the comments that Geragos made, it kind of reignited that debate. And so now the court is having to watch outside commentary a little bit more closely. Now, up till recent events, up till this past week, Diddy, when he shows up to court, is wearing his yellowish tannish jumpsuit. But the judge did say that he is now allowed to wear street clothes. He's allowed to have 5 button-up shirts, 5 sweaters, 5 pants, socks, and 2 pairs of laceless shoes, which is important because when you are on a trial like this and you are the defendant, being in that jumpsuit gives the optics that you're already guilty, right? And I know that we all have opinions on this, right? But from the court of law standpoint, when you're going through this, kind of like the same thing with Luigi, you don't want to be in that jumpsuit. They want to see you in regular clothes, so you're a lot more relatable. Okay. So that's where that's going on. But now let's talk about something that you guys have asked me a lot about, and I had to kind of look into it because I've been so focused on other areas of this. I missed a couple days ago. So that's on me. My bad. And by the way, this will all be written up, everything that we're talking about in the Substack article a little bit later. There is a witness, a key witness known as victim number 3. And apparently she lives outside of New York, and she has indicated that she might not show up, might not testify, despite the fact that she has been subpoenaed. The prosecution did admit in court that they've struggled to contact her or her attorney. So now the judge, Subramanian, has asked the lead prosecutor, Maureen Comey, whether they'd reference her during opening statements, and that answer was no. They plan to introduce her story later, describing her as one of the many victims, many women exploited allegedly by Sean Diddy Combs. Still, his legal team wants clarity by the end of the week. The judge urged prosecutors to make every effort to secure her testimony. So let me tell you what's kind of going on with that. They can't find her. There is a witness who says that she doesn't know if she wants to testify. She has become completely unresponsive, and they don't know if they can find her. Apparently, when they've reached out to her, they've reached out to her attorney. They're being met with no response. Now, what we did learn yesterday was that there's going to be at least four people who were victims of Diddy that are supposed to testify, and witnesses, victims. And this woman, I'm going to guess, is one of them. So she offers a key piece of testimony, and it's very interesting that now all of a sudden she's, if she was in and now she's not. I find that I'm not jumping to any conclusions, but I find it very peculiar. Don't you? I mean, drop your thoughts in the comments, I guess. Other things that happened during that we found out. He had passed notes to his lead attorney, Mark Agnafilo, including one about a juror feeling uncomfortable with violent content. He also shared a moment with his defense attorney, Tinny Geragos, helping her into her seat. And most jurors reportedly avoided eye contact with Diddy altogether. So what is next, guys? What do we have to look forward to? Because next week, guys, starts the big game. It's not really a game, but that's where the big stuff starts. Opening arguments are scheduled for Monday, but peremptory strikes are scheduled for Friday. Opening arguments scheduled for Monday. And basically, we have hope that the final jury will be seated by Friday afternoon, end of day. And that then leads us to be able to open us like I'm in it with arguments. Now, with a witness list that is packed with celebrities, graphic allegations, and a media circus forming around the courthouse, this trial is already going to be one of the most high profile and polarizing that we have seen in years. And of course, whether you're watching on TikTok or YouTube or wherever, I'm going to be following this every single day. We will be giving you updates throughout the day and then recaps in the evening via Substack, via YouTube when I can. Should be most of the time during YouTube. My birthday, I mentioned this yesterday and I think Monday. My birthday's coming up. We're planning possibly going out of town for that for a week or so, but I can still, make videos during the day and definitely do recaps in the evening. So you guys will not be left behind on this. And then of course we'll do the Substack write-ups as well. So you definitely want to make sure to hit that follow button. If you're following on YouTube or you jumped over to YouTube from TikTok, please make sure to hit that follow button, that subscribe button, and make sure that the bell is on so you get those notifications. And the same thing for you guys on TikTok. If you're following, you can hit that notification for when I go live, and then you don't miss it. Because basically, with some few exceptions, this is going to be the primary topic as this trial progresses. It's going to be Diddy and what's going on. I'm very into it. You got to understand from my perspective. This is when it comes to music. Well, because some of y'all might not actually know this about me. I'm actually a really massive hip hop fan. I love Tupac. I'm convinced that Diddy is responsible for Tupac's death. You will not convince me otherwise. Probably Biggie's as well. But this was the era, that late 90s, early 2000s was like the music that I love. So Diddy has been a big deal. I mean, he was even like a guest star, like All That on Nickelodeon and stuff. And so to know that this was happening, and to know that he's going to hopefully be held accountable for the victim's sake and for the high profileness of it, I am all in for covering this and making sure that you guys stay up to date. Now, with all of that said, I think that's what we have today for Diddy on YouTube. TikTok, don't go anywhere. And we will see you guys soon. Have a good one.